the highest level of respect.
Speaking of you being the former interim welterweight champion of the UFC, next UFC card, they have Islam Makhachev versus Ian Machado Garry. Who do you favor in that?
I favor Makhachev for sure. I think he's just going to take him down and dictate his pace and put the fight where he wants to fight. He's too strong for that little twig, that little cuck that sits in the corner and watches his wife get dogged out by the nutritionist. So, I got Islam. Islam ain't doing that cuck shit.
That's going to be a sick fucking fight. Sick fight. Back in the good old days, I would see your ass fight 3 times in a year. But now, you're lucky to see Islam fight once a year. It's just hard. But the fact that we get to see him, fight Ian Garry, that's going to be a sick fucking fight.
Ian Garry, he's a guy that can get it done. Islam is one of the greatest to ever do it in this game. He's dominant in his field, and now he's at welterweight. Like against JDM, I thought JDM scrambling would give him problems, but nah, it wasn't the case. I haven't actually looked at that fight too much yet, but I'm excited for that fight just because it's like, again, another one of those ones where it's like destiny. A guy like Ian Machado, who's come up, had this dream to be saying, I'm the future, and now the future is here. So will he get it done? Possibly.
Islam, he's fighting next UFC 330 next month against Ian Machado Garry. So who do you got in that fight?
I got Islam. It's a tough fight. You gotta rewatch Ian Garry's fight because I don't know him very well. People saying like he has a good takedown defense. I know a lot of people in 170, so I cannot say. But like Islam right now, he's the best. It's hard to beat him.
If you had a fight or a showdown, name exactly 3 fighters you would take with you. This is an interesting question because I wonder who Charles will take with him.
Islam Makhachev,
Who? Islam Makhachev. The fighters are Islam Makhachev, Dustin Poirier, and also Ilia Topuria.
Yeah.
Every time we see each other, they treat me very well. These are 3 guys whom I respect a lot as fighters. And not just for what they do in the cage, but also for who they are outside of it. And
who is the best among these 3?
Out of these 3, Islam Makhachev.
Islam Makhachev?
Yes, Islam Makhachev. I think he is an exceptionally talented master and is currently working hard on improving his footwork. I think he is one of those who, in my opinion, has undergone the most significant transformation.
Ian Garry more than he believes in him. The way that Ian portrays and talks about he believes in himself, I actually believe in him that way. He's a young guy and he's using the media as a way to help to convince himself. But I actually think he's that good. I actually think Ian Garry can beat Islam. Now, I'm not predicting for you that he's going to. We'll get to that as this fight gets closer, but I'm sharing for you he can. And Ian Garry is a pain in the ass. And this whole thing that he can't wrestle, go ask Rachmanov if that's true. Or this whole thing that you can take Ian's back and finish him. Well, go ask Rachmanov if that's true. Or anybody else that Ian's ever fought or anyone else that's ever had his back. Because none of them ever finished him. But he's going to be to Islam what Conor was to Aldo. What are we talking about? He's got a way, he sees something, he's got a way, he's got a pattern, he's got something he's going to try, and if it works, he's going to look great. Is that what we're talking about? Sometimes that happens. George Masvidal knew, I'm going to throw a knee. If it lands, I'm going to look great against Ben Askren. If it doesn't work, he's going to catch me, take me down, and I'm never going to get up. But I'm going to put everything into this. Like sometimes it does work, but I don't want that to be what Gary's talking about. I want it to be fun starting now. I want him to go after it.
Yeah, I think that obviously, I mean, that's true. Like from a perspective of like just the truth. I mean, he's not the type of guy that's just going to KO you in the first round. You know what I mean? Like it's just not really what he does because he's really smart. Like he's very defensively sound. He plays really long. I think the leg kicks and like the oblique kicks and the head kicks and just the frame difference between them means that Ian Garry's probably going to play. He always plays the matador. Like he's never playing the ball. He's never like being aggressive and like trying to hunt you down. He like builds into a fight. And then in round 3, 4, and 5, that's when he gets a little bit more aggressive. That's where he like rocks people, like even Bilal and Prates or whatever. He had big moments against them in round 3, 4, and 5. I mean, Shavkat Rakhmonov, he gets his back in the 5th round. So I feel like if there is a finish from Ian Garry, it probably is in the 4th or 5th. So it's not ridiculous. I don't think it's ridiculous to say that. I guess that's what I'll say. It's not ridiculous to say that, but I also feel like, come on, bro, you're not finishing Islam Makhachev. Like, come on, bro. If you win this shit, it's by a decision. Like, let's be fucking real. Same with Islam. I mean, I think Islam has more finishing potential overall. Like, early on, he could snap up a Das. He's really fucking dangerous. Like, I think Islam overall is a more likely to finish this fight. But I feel like if this gets to round 3, 4, and 5, it's probably going to be a decision. Like, I think this will be a very close fight. Both of those camps have said the same thing. So I lean towards a decision. If you're asking me what I think is going to happen, I don't think it's going to be a finish from Ian Garry.
How good do you think is Ian Garry when you look at the rest of the division?
Dude, I mean, shit. Like, it's pretty hard to say he's not the number one guy. Like, besides Islam, right? Like, he beat Prates. He had a really good fight with Shavkat Rakhmonov. Like, had more finishing type moments in that fight. Beat MVP. Like, he's beat all types of weird star matchups as well, which I think is really cool to see. Like, obviously, I don't like the guy.
Eu acho que na realidade.
I believe that in reality we're just human, and sometimes we make mistakes. I think that keep pressing, impose his pressure, and I believe that this is exactly the right kind of...
As we inch closer to the matchup between Islam Makhachev and Ian Machado Garry, the controversy is just intensifying. More and more MMA legends, ex-champions, coaches, and analysts have joined the fray with their daring predictions, dissecting all the different routes to success. While some people feel that Garry possesses the necessary capabilities to make one of the most surprising upsets in UFC history, other experts maintain that there is no way for anyone to defeat Makhachev because he is too well-rounded an opponent. Here's what the biggest MMA stars have to say before this epic clash of titans.
August. However, it's just Islam is the mark of excellence in MMA. You know, you're talking about just a pro's pro who, even when weight cuts don't go right, he still finds ways to win. But for the most part, operates like a pro. I think engages in trash talk without going insane. I'll put it that way, which I personally prefer. Everyone's going to be a little bit different, but I kind of prefer that. But just in terms of like excellence, can he wrestle quite as well as Khabib? Maybe not, but pretty close. And he can strike a whole lot better. He has fought, very, very tough guys. I didn't know how 170 was going to go, and then it's just been what it's been. I just think very, very, very highly, not only of his ability and his well-roundedness and experience, but his ability to, remain focused on the goal at all times. So many of these guys, they get fat out of camp, they get in trouble, they lose focus, they want to do something else, the fire dies. And these guys from Abdul Manap's camp, man, they just stay grounded and keep hammering and keep hammering. And that's why they keep winning. And Islam is, one of the very best to ever do it. A remarkable fighter, and can go and do a numbered event in the Middle East, can do one in stateside, and I think that is a degree of its own kind of value. Hugely important for that organization and the sport generally.
Totally, yeah. I think, and a big thing now is literally starting with this fight, you can promote every Islam Makhachev fight as historic beyond measure, given this winning streak. I mean,
that's right.
Tied with Anderson Silva, you could say this is a fighter who's never done anything beyond this point like it is. That's a huge fact.
I'm intrigued by this fight. I mean, listen, Islam, as you agree, I think most people do believe he's number one pound for pound right now. So it's hard to pick anybody against that you believe is the number one pound for pound fighter in the sport. But do I believe that Ian Machado Garry has earned this opportunity and that he has a potential to win this fight? I do. You know what I mean? He's long, he's rangy. Listen, you already said you weren't going to try to make it all one-sided. I mean, he's a smart guy. He fights intelligent. He stays committed to his game plan. He has beaten, Bilal Muhammad, Carlos Prates, Michael. I mean, he's beaten. It's not the same fight. Now, I will say this. I saw a quote where he came out and was like, I can beat Islam in wrestling and grappling. And I was like, please let that be a smokescreen. You know what I mean? Like, again, and I do, and again, I always say, we talk about it all the time. Fighters need to have an almost insane level of self-confidence, right? Like, you should not be getting into a steel cage with another human being if you do not have the utmost level of self-confidence. So I want Ian to feel that way, that he does have the ability to be there, but I don't want to see it happen.
Chael Sonnen thinks that Ian Machado Garry can establish an edge at the beginning of the fight if he makes the fight week itself a psychological war against Islam Makhachev. Sonnen is of the view that Garry must make it a point to take every press conference, interview, and confrontation to make Makhachev nervous. He believes that it is the tension during such instances which make the fight feel bigger than it is. Nevertheless, Sonnen does not think that Garry will really adopt such a psychological tactic. Although some people have already equated Garry's tactics to that of Conor McGregor, Sonnen does not believe that such a comparison can be made yet.
I want him to get in his head. I want him to rattle him. I want Islam at the face-off to look away. Now, whether Islam does any of those things, right, it would just force Islam to rise. We could have some fun. Press conferences are only fun if there's a little bit of that sprinkled in there. Can we agree? Face-offs are only worth doing if there's a little bit in there. I just don't think that's what he's talking about. And I'm not getting the comparison. Now, I'm open to it. I'm open to observing this and updating you guys as we go and telling you, hey, that's what he talked about. Okay, he's doing, hey, remember when Conor did that to Jose? Okay, hey, here's what he's doing. Here's the playbook. I just don't know if that's what he means.
However, Sonnen believes that the psychological struggle is just one tiny piece of the puzzle. Sonnen claims that the real test starts once the doors of the octagon are closed. Sonnen believes that Garry needs to show that he is able to resist the takedowns of Makhachev while keeping a fast pace during all 25 minutes, since the champion does not look like slowing down. According to Sonnen, once Garry manages to overcome these two obstacles, the whole match will become much more balanced. In addition, Sonnen mentioned Sean O'Malley as another worthy opponent who can be studied.
Just don't. Ian Garry has answered a lot of questions, and if you're going to deal with Islam Makhachev, first and foremost, can you stop a takedown? Second, and it's in this order specifically, can you go hard for 5 rounds? Because Islam can. If you change it to 10 rounds, Islam's not going to wilt. Khabib and that whole team show up right. But if you could stop a takedown, and you could go hard for 25 minutes, conversation changes completely. Completely changes. Sean O'Malley is who I would encourage Ian Garry to study. Sean O'Malley is not a master of wrestling defense, but everybody thinks he is. Why? Well, because he never gets out-wrestled. Okay. Why don't I give Sean that credit then? Because he doesn't defend any shots. Sean's got you beat a step early.
Sonnen continued his thought process when he explained how he would like Garry to analyze O'Malley further, as he feels there is something different about how O'Malley stifles his wrestlers. No matter how many times he analyzes his fights, Sonnen has no clue about how O'Malley stifles the wrestler's takedown setup and is very efficient in controlling the distance to make sure his opponents do not find an opening. According to Sonnen, if Garry is able to come up with the same formula, his chances against Makhachev will rise immensely. He made it very clear that Garry definitely has a chance in that fight, especially if he stuffs the takedowns and keeps going at a high pace for all the 5 rounds. According to Luke Thomas, Garry is far from an easy opponent as many people may think. According to him, it is not easy to win a title in a new weight class, but it is even more difficult to defend it against a plethora of determined contenders. Although he does not see Garry as a typical contender, he thinks that these are the type of bouts which usually turn out to be surprising for everyone. Thomas highly appreciated the toughness and defensive skills of Garry, yet it is hard for him to bet against Makhachev. As per him, it is difficult to counter the comprehensive offensive arsenal of Makhachev, although it would be hard for him to dominate each single round. Speaking from the same point of view, MMA veteran Mayhem Miller stated that this is one of the fights that he has been waiting to happen due to the difference in styles. Even though Miller admitted that Islam Makhachev's superior grappling, strength, and submission skills make him one of the best champions in the sport, he does not see Garry as a puzzle that will be solved easily. This is because Miller sees Garry's physical dimensions and skill sets as factors that will definitely give the champion a hard time like no other fighter had done before. On that note, Miller went further and stated that Garry's route to victory is based on making the best out of the physical and stylistic assets he possesses inside the octagon. Instead of positioning himself right in front of Makhachev, Miller suggested that Garry move around the cage, utilizing his reach and switching stances in order not to let the champion settle down and find a rhythm. The latter stressed that although Makhachev's striking is extremely efficient due to its synergy with the wrestling skills of the champion, Garry is another story entirely due to his physicality, range, and unpredictability in offensive style. Sharing his thoughts on the matchup, Bedtime MMA said this is one of the rare title fights where the two best fighters in the division are actually facing each other. He praised Garry for his activity, adaptability, and high fight IQ, saying Garry has a knack for identifying an opponent's biggest weakness and building his entire game plan around it, even if it results in a slow or less entertaining fight. At the same time, he highlighted Makhachev's dominant grappling, disciplined defense, and equally impressive fight IQ. While they rely on very different styles, he believes both possess a level of intelligence that reminds him of Georges St-Pierre, making this a true clash between the division's top two competitors. Taking that comparison a step further, he argued that Garry is also one of the most dangerous matchups available for Makhachev at welterweight. While some fans believe Michael Morales poses the biggest threat, he disagrees, pointing out that Morales' grappling has yet to be tested against elite opposition. Instead, he sees Garry and Carlos Prates as the champion's toughest challenges. In his view, Garry's combination of strong defensive grappling, disciplined striking, and exceptional fight IQ makes him a uniquely difficult opponent to solve. As for Prates, his knockout power and takedown defense create a different kind of danger. Bedtime MMA even joked that if Makhachev gets past Garry, he might want to retire before taking on another elite welterweight. As the praise for Islam Makhachev continues to pour in, former lightweight champion and Islam's opponent Charles Oliveira has highlighted what he believes is the champion's greatest weapon, and it isn't his wrestling. Oliveira says Makhachev stands above everyone else because of his incredible discipline and ability to execute a flawless game plan from start to finish. According to the Brazilian, Islam never abandons the strategy prepared by his team, making him one of the smartest and most difficult fighters to beat. It's a quality Oliveira believes has played a major role in Makhachev's remarkable run at the top of the sport. Now it's your turn. Who do you think comes out on top when Islam Makhachev and Ian Machado Garry finally meet? Will the champion's dominant wrestling and championship experience be too much? Or can Garry pull off the biggest upset of his career? Drop your prediction and reasoning in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more UFC news, fight breakdowns, predictions, and the latest MMA updates.